Are you listening to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or any other platform where you can leave a rate or review? Do you like what we're doing? If the answer to all of that is yes, please consider quickly giving us a 5-star rate. And if you wouldn't mind leaving us a nice review, we greatly appreciate that as well. Okay, let's do this.
Hello, welcome to the Ghosts of Harrenhal. My name's Simon.
And I'm Mackelly.
Thank you for joining us for episode 302 of our chapter-by-chapter book review of A Song of Ice and Fire by George Martin. Today we'll be discussing chapter 30 of A Dance with Dragons, which is Daenerys 5.
And as always, we're going to chat about the chapter and try not to spoil any future plot points for you. Unless, of course, you have a Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tier that includes spoilers, well, then we are going to spoil things for you. Regardless, hopefully we'll provide you some entertainment along the way.
We'll summarise what happened, discuss our thoughts on it, provide some useful background, compare it to the television show, indulge in a little pedantry and cover some relevant news and listener correspondence. Be sure to check out the show notes to provide some additional information about the characters and geography of this chapter. How are you, Mackelly?
I'm doing all right. It was a weird day.
Do tell.
Because, so Molly's college starts next Monday, her classes. We moved her into her apartment this Monday. But she came back home with us because she was going to stay here for the rest of the week and then go up this weekend and then start classes on Monday.
Okay.
But she got an on-campus job, and apparently in an email from her boss, she missed the bit about mandatory training being at 5 p.m. today. And she discovered this about 1:30 p.m. today. So it was a mad dash to get her packed. We only brought up the big things when we went up on Monday. All her clothes and pillows and stuff like that were left here. She was going to take them when she went up. So, yeah, it was like we had this plan where Friday night we were going to take her out to dinner and have, a goodbye dinner, and then she'd leave Saturday morning and it would be a nice adios. But
this was more ripping the Band-Aid off.
Yes. It was a mad dash because it's an hour and a half drive, and she had to park at her apartment, at least take in things like her laptop and some food for her kitchen and stuff. So go into her apartment and then walk to campus and get there before it started. So
it's an hour and a half. She could come back for dinner on Friday if she really wants to.
Yes, she could. That's not the plan, but yeah, she will be back before too long for sure. It's not like we sent her to the other side of the country or something.
I'm so sorry that sentimental Mackelly gets to miss out on the protracted drawing out the tears goodbye that you had planned.
Yes, and Molly is every bit as sentimental, if not more so than me. So she was even more affected by this.
Although, if I was the sentimental one, I would want this. I would want the, oh God, I gotta go,
Kinda. Yeah,
Takes away the...
It makes it, it rips the Band-Aid off, and then you adjust. But I do have a story for you from this past weekend. We were at our friend's house, and we were just there were several of us, and we were all just kind of lounging by their pool. And the wife was there hosting. The husband had gone to get his hair cut, and he hadn't come back yet. He comes back, and he comes through the, off the back deck, and everybody can see him. And I say, "Hello, sir," which is something I say rather frequently.
Yeah. Yep.
And 30 seconds goes by, and the wife says, "What did you call him?" And I said, "Call him? What do you mean? I don't even remember what I just said, 'Hello, sir.'" And she was like, "Oh, I thought you said, 'Hey, loser.'" And the husband said, "I thought the same thing." I was like, does that sound like me? Do I sound like the kind of person who calls people loser for no reason?
Well, I mean, he had just had a haircut. Perhaps he had become, You did not win the lottery on that one, my friend.
So I'm glad she did. She felt so bad about saying something. And I was like, no, I'm glad you did, because otherwise the two of you are thinking that I called him a loser.
Right, which is not very nice, yeah. That's funny, actually. As the story started going, I was like, I wonder if they heard "Hey, loser," But
Yes.
but it's funny that hello sir, hello, hey loser.
Hey, loser. Yeah.
Huh.
It never crossed my mind that
Yeah.
hello, sir sounds like hey, loser if you're not paying attention or if you're across a pool. So, no, I do not tend to call my friends losers. Unless I beat them at something, then I might say, sorry, loser.
Perfectly
But,
reasonable in that case.
Yes,
yeah.
of course. Anyway, enough about me. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing okay. I was telling you before we started that I had management training this morning with your boss, and
Uh-huh.
this training sends you out into random groups for discussions, and it was me and your boss, and we were talking about our teams and what we think of them.
Oh, boy. Oh, goodness. I'm not sure how much more you should go on here, depending on what was said about me and how much of it was said.
Well, I mean, they told us not to use names, but I knew when he was talking about you, let me tell you. Chronic oversharer, terribly sentimental. Oh yeah, I got the. I can picture the one.
Did he call me sir? Did he say, hello, sir?
Something sounds a little bit like that.
Right.
My other story comes from my mum. So my mum uses WhatsApp just sporadically. So when I get something from my mum, it's a bit of a... I mean, I don't bother reaching out to her on WhatsApp because there's not much point, but she does occasionally reach out to me. And she sent me a screenshot of the Oldham lineup for one of their games this season.
Okay.
Which I have mild interest in, although honestly, I don't know the team well enough to really care. You know, it's just like 11 names, basically. But that it's coming from her is very strange.
Yeah.
So I said back to her, I said, Mum, was this intended for me? And she said, no. Why?
Oh, I don't know. Because you sent it to me.
I couldn't believe how much humor she got into 2 words. It was like, no. Why do you ask? What's wrong with you?
You should have assumed it wasn't for you when I sent it to you.
So I went back and looked. No, it was just a one-on-one chat, me and her. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, well, okay. Yeah, I guess you should have known better.
Yeah.
What were you thinking of asking such
Be
a
in my
silly
place.
question?
It really cracked me up, though. I followed up with her with like, well, you sent it to me. She was like, no, that came from Lucy. I'm like, honestly, it didn't.
No, look at the text. Look at the WhatsApp thread or whatever it would be called. It's just you and me, kid. Oh. Parents and technology.
Yeah.
We'll be there soon enough.
I know.
If we're not already.
True. Oh, anyway, let's get down to business. How do we leave Daenerys Targaryen? Last we saw of Dany, she was dining with the Green Grace, who not only suggested that Dany marry Hizdahr's own Loraq to end the fighting within Meereen, but actually brought him along just so that they could meet and chat and discuss their forthcoming nuptials. Dany and Hizdahr discussed the union. He didn't care about the lack of love. Maybe that would come with time. Dany next met with Daario Naharis, whom she basically undressed with her eyes. However, when he said all kings are butchers, but Dany is just an ordinary queen, a broodmare for a king, Dany got angry, understandably, and sent him out on an assignment with instructions to Sir Barristan that Daario is to report directly to him from now on, and therefore not have any access to her. Mackelly, why don't we give a summary of this one?
Okay. Well, each morning, Dany climbs the western ramparts and counts the sails choking Slaver's Bay. Today, it's roughly 25 here or there. Trade is dead. Even river fishing risks arrows. Her Admiral Groleo wants Dragonfire to clear the blockade. Dany refuses. She wants him to build new ships. He's a captain, not a shipwright, and he has no materials. Dany, unnerved by his bitterness, even wonders if he could be one of the 3 betrayers, then dismisses the thought and sends him away.
So Barristan stays and gives the good news tour. Storehouses are okay for now. New fields have been planted. Her Khalasar has cleared the Myronese slavers from the surrounding hills, and the Lazarene are friendly, if not much help militarily. Dany asks after his boys. Barristan beams. A handful might make true knights someday. She half jokes about a joust. He politely punts on that.
Missandei announces Skahaz Kandaq. The Shavepate, with 2 brass-masked brazen beasts, reports that Hizdahr has been calling at pyramids, 11 so far, and wouldn't you know it, the killings by the Sons of the Harpy stopped 26 days ago? Skahaz reads this as proof. Hizdahr is the Harpy, or at least their whisperer. Dany remains unconvinced. The questioned prisoners have given too many names for there to be a single secret general. Still, she charges Skahaz to keep observing her betrothed-to-be.
Bad tidings interrupt supper. Galaza Galare, the Green Grace, arrives with 3 Blue Graces and Grey Worm. A dying
Sounds
rider...
like the beginning of a joke there.
Did a little bit, yeah. 1 Green Grace, 3 Blue Graces, and a eunuch. Going to the pub.
Exactly.
A dying rider reached Meereen from the south, whispering the same phrase over and over. She is burning, she is burning. The Blue Graces tended him, arrowhead still in his thigh, fever cooking him, and in his last clear moment he named the she, Astapor. The man was riding a pale mare, causing Dany to recall Quaith's prophecies. A Blue Grace named Azara also saw clear signs of the man having the bloody flux. The Green Grace takes it as a harbinger. Amateur epidemiologist that she is.
Surely.
Someone arriving in town with dysentery is a harbinger of everyone in town catching dysentery. Yeah, no kidding.
Really went out on a limb there.
Exactly. A sparrow flying overhead being a harbinger of dysentery is one thing, but a guy with dysentery, that's different. That's a cause and effect.
Right. Well, when the Graces have left, Dany asks Barristan to have her Blood Riders and the Second Sons recalled to Meereen. When Barristan asks of the Stormcrows, she jumps at the idea of Daario returning. Her mind oscillates between dreaming of his death to fearing he's betrayed her. 8 days later, Brown Ben Plum is the first to return, and Dany's happy to see him. Brown Ben has 3 Astapori refugees in hand. Dany has them fed and hears their tale. A brickmaker, a weaver, and a cobbler.
Going to the pub.
Yes, that sounds like another beginning of a joke. Unfortunately, what they have to say is very much not funny, sadly. But they're all that's left of the 12 who left Astapor together.
The Red City starved, ringed by Yonkai's legions and sellswords. Inside, cats, rats, leather were on the menu. King Cutthroat and Queen Whore accusing each other of cannibal feasts. Then came the fires, temples sealed and torched, blazes joining until streets became chimneys. The gates were held by Yunkai. The brickmaker and his companions only escaped through a tunnel they'd quietly worked loose through the city's outer wall.
Dany promises safety of Meereen, while knowing she can't truly guarantee it. The 2 men thank her, but the weaver simply eyes Dany coldly. After the trio have left, Brown Ben warns there are hundreds, if not thousands, more behind these 3. Many sick or burned, being driven north by sellsword companies in the employ of Yunkai. Resnack worries about the extra mouths and the disease the Astapori bring.
Dany regrets not riding to Astapor's aid, but her council points out that Cleon was a fool who disregarded her warning not to attack Yunkai. The blood is on his hands. Besides, if she had taken her unsullied out of Meereen, the Sons of the Harpy would have reclaimed it. Resnack urges her to marry Hizdahr soon, and again Dany thinks of Quaith's warning about the perfumed seneschal.
Brown Ben runs the numbers. Yunkai fields multiple sellsword companies, to Meereen's 2, with talks that they've sent to Volantis for the Golden Company, plus Giscari legions, and even feelers to a big Khalasar. We need the dragons, says Ben. Dany and Resnack take opposite approaches, but both conclude that the dragons are a non-starter. If no dragons, Ben suggests the pragmatic path. Sell Meereen back to the slavers, take the payoff, and slip away west with wagons of treasure.
Dany rejects looting her own city and betraying the people she rescued. She turns to Grey Worm. Can the freedmen stand? Grey Worm pledges that they will not shame her, though they're no unsullied. Resnack and Barristan press the public health reality. The bloody flux will gut Meereen if the refugees pour inside. With tears unshared, because dragons don't cry, Dany orders camps outside the western walls by the river, food sent out, and some attempt at separating healthy from sick.
We'll be right back.
Hello, friends. Are you ready to make some unforgettable memories? Well, if so, consider the Marriott Bonvoy program. Discover the perfect destination for your summer getaway and unlock exclusive deals on luxurious accommodations. With our affiliate partnership, you'll enjoy unbeatable savings and a seamless booking experience. Don't let summer slip away. Visit Marriott Bonvoy today and make this vacation season one for the books. Use our Ghosts of Harrenhal affiliate page to check it all out and buy Bonvoy points or give some as a gift. The link to our page is in the show notes. Later, on her terrace, she imagines the southern sky smeared by Astapori smoke. Barristan joins her. Can they make a fight of it? Men can always fight, he says. Victory is the hard part. Half-trained freedmen, cloak-turning sellswords, 2 untamed dragons and a third gone, only the lamb men as friends? The walls that once kept her out won't magically save her now. There are plenty inside who work toward her downfall.
Daenerys asks Barristan for his counsel. He wants battle. They cannot withstand a long siege. Let him meet her enemies in the field. She names the problem cleanly. 2 enemies. One outside, one inside. She can't fight both. So she chooses politics over fire. If she's to hold Meereen, she needs the whole city behind her, which means swallowing her distaste and doing what the Green Grace has been urging from the start. I need Hizdahr, she admits.
Okay. Well, it was a longish chapter.
It was, and a bit of a letdown after the last one, because we were talking last week about how much we enjoyed, sort of the moment where Davos's story took a potential turn,
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas Dany's is just like a slow slide into ruin,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And it isn't really, there's not much narrative change here at the end of this chapter. We're still basically where we were.
It's like she's standing in quicksand, and each chapter is just her sinking further and further into the sand.
Right. Whereas, by contrast, the last Davos chapter was the moment where the branch gets reached out to him and he's able to...
Yes.
So, one thing I wanted to ask you, actually, because I forgot to do my own research. Who is Barristan training up to be knights? I've kind of forgotten that.
Yeah, so
it's weird.
Dany
With so little
chapter
happening, I really should pay attention to everything that's happening. But
well, when you're stuck in quicksand, everything kind of blends in. The quicksand all starts to blend together. So he has been training some of the cupbearers / hostages
I thought
that
it was
Dany
them.
has taken from the great houses.
It's a tricky one, that, though, because their loyalty must be somewhat questionable,
Sure. Yeah.
They've been kidnapped from their families. I mean, they may have been treated decently, but that's a little traumatizing. And now they're being trained to be better fighters. If they ever get loose, the Sons of the Harpy might be even more effective.
Well, yeah, that's true. If they get trained well enough, he may have trained, excellent knights for the other side. But you would think through the training process that he's teaching them chivalry. He's teaching them all the Western chivalry ways and how to be. And if you're learning from Barristan, it's not like learning from the mountain. You're learning to be a true knight of the Seven Kingdoms.
That is a very good point. By contrast, Grey Worm is just training up any freedmen who are willing to pick up a sword, basically.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
I got to say, thinking about that sort of geopolitically, neither of those groups is going to swing this battle in Dany's favor.
No. Especially the knights. Right now, they're just boys who are learning how to use a sword and ride a horse properly, and how to hold a shield, and all the basic things that like Sir Alistair Thorne was teaching Jon and friends. Except for being a jerk.
Could be enough if all you're trying to do is defend. You're trying to defend a high wall, which Marine certainly has, and so does Alistair Thorne. But if you are trying to push back attackers, you need more than just the ability to throw a rock down on someone.
Right. Yeah, I don't think either. And he's hoping that, he said, I think like 4 to 5, maybe as many as 12 might turn out to be true knights. That's great on a small scale, but that's not going to turn the war here,
Right. Not if the Golden Company with their 20,000 join in,
Right. He thinks at one point, if I had 500 knights, he doesn't even have one other knight right now. So 12 newly, freshly minted knights are not gonna swing the war here. So
we throughout the podcast we've had characters who we've had a little fondness for.
Yes.
Maegor, the misunderstood.
Totally misunderstood, of course.
Thingamajig, youngest Stark, was Rickon.
That kid, yeah.
I'll add Groleo to that list.
Agreed.
Admiral Groleo.
I'll second that.
He gets more rough treatment at Dany's hands here. It's like she's so nice to her people, and she just saves it all up for this poor guy. she literally, just to sort of like paraphrase what she says to him. She says, "Stop your whining about your ships that I stole and turned into matchwood. Take a 44-league round trip to bring back some wood to build new ships to replace those ships, then build those ships, and then sail out and fight the 25 ships that are out in the harbour." It's like, what did I do? You look a lot like one of my ex-boyfriends, I'm just going to say.
And he didn't ask for any of this. He was simply sent to retrieve Dany from Qarth and bring her back to Pentos. Not be a ward admiral on a losing side of a war, with no ships.
With no ships. Or wood within 20 leagues.
Right. And his suggestion makes perfect sense for someone who doesn't know that the dragons aren't available. Burn the ships with dragon fire. That's a pretty logical suggestion.
His suggestion makes sense for people who know that she's not in control of the dragons.
Just set him off in that direction.
Yeah, exactly. Just point and shout Dracarys at them. Hope for the best.
Now, he might know that Drogon's missing. He probably doesn't know that the other two she has no control over.
Yeah.
Or else if he was in on that secret, he probably wouldn't have made that suggestion, so it doesn't sound like he knows that.
You know what you should do? I've got an idea, actually. I've got a plan. A plan has just formed in my mind.
Okay.
Get 25 brave swimmers to swim out to the ships at night.
Uh-huh.
Secretly climb on board and paint a big sheep on each sail. And let Drogon do his burst.
What if it was 25 rowers on little dinghies row out there with real sheep and put the sheep in the
what would
sheep
you
in
do?
the ship?
You wake up the next morning, you're like, oh, there's a sheep. Uh-oh, what's that?
What's a shadow? But I think everyone must be confused at some level why the dragons are off the table, those who aren't in the know. On one hand, they're what make her special, right? She's the dragon queen because she has dragons. Before she had dragons, she was just the beggar king's little sister.
Yeah.
Now she has dragons. That's what makes her special. And, as word starts to spread that she's either refusing to employ them or for whatever reason these dragons aren't being used, that might cause some to consider leaving her side, and it might embolden her enemies.
Yeah. I'll disagree with you just to a certain extent. The dragons made her special, but she has proved herself special with a little help from the dragons in sort of like freeing the slaves. But
Yes.
you are
True,
absolutely
very true.
right. All she's done is freed the slaves into a situation which is almost as perilous as being a slave.
Yeah.
And if she can't back it up with
Unfortunately.
those dragons, then she hasn't really helped in the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. I take your point, but I will say one thing about Groleo before we leave poor Groleo behind. If his wife is anything like mine, if he frequently refers to her as my old wife, he might be safer in Meereen than in Pentos. I know I would be safer behind the walls of Meereen than in the same city.
To be fair to Groleo, when he left her, he referred to her as my young wife.
It's been that long. That might be the case.
It's the moment where Dany says, I'm fed up of, or at least she might only think it, but I'm fed up with people telling me things they can't do for me, to Groleo. And it's like, what else? What can I do for you? I'm an admiral
Right.
with no ships.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Go build some ships. Get busy. What else you got to do with your time?
I know Hizdahr doesn't feature in this chapter, other than, as being referenced, but obviously he's central to it because of the last line of the chapter. That, basically,
Right.
I don't know. It's not spoiler because I literally don't know, but I don't know if she's planning to bring forward the date of their marriage, because I think they said in this chapter as I remember, the deal was he had to go give her 90 days of peace, and he's given her 26. I got the feeling by the last sentence of this, she was going to bring things forward. She was going to, cut this short. He'd proven he could do it. Now he was going to get his reward.
Yeah, it did feel that way. It's not like she was like, I need Hizdahr to finish off the other
64 days.
Yes, thank you. I was
just
hoping
need him
you'd
to
come
do
to my
it
rescue.
quicker.
I need Hizdahr to speed up these next 64 days to prove to me that he's capable. Then I'll marry him.
But it is hard to warm to him because it's I'm going to get the names, not Resnak, but Skahaz.
Skahaz, yeah.
Skahaz is convinced that he's a bad guy. Like, he's convinced that what the evidence that proves he can do what he says he could do is evidence that he is very much central to the Sons of the Harpy. And it's hard to escape that conclusion.
You can't blame the Shavepate.
Yeah.
He should be suspicious.
Right.
I mean, all of a sudden, Hizdahr had the power to stop these murders all along. And I think Skahaz is well within his right to ask, how's he doing that? Was it all he took was simply asking nicely? Maybe Skahaz said that Hizdahr's gone to 11 pyramids so far. Is he just bringing baskets of fruit and chocolates and saying...
I think if Hizdahr was questioned about that, what he would say, hey, look, I don't know if you people are involved with the Sons of the Harpy, but if we can put a stop to this, she's going to marry me. So the nobles of Meereen will be back in charge. And things will be back to the way we want them to be.
Right.
I would say that would be my argument, and that could be true, but that which isn't that great. If I'm one of the other, 90 families, it's not that great for me. Hizdahr's the one who's up jumping, not me, not my family.
Right.
But yes, at least Dany's worst impulses, at least as I perceive them, her worst impulses, will be curbed by having Hizdahr as her king.
Yeah.
So,
king consort, I would guess. I doubt her plan is to, abdicate the power to her husband.
I bet that's his plan, though.
I bet you're right.
and I bet that's what he's saying with that basket of fruit in the pyramid.
Yep, that certainly would be something I would be considering saying.
Yeah. So the thing is, that is plausible. It is plausible that he wasn't involved and he's gone out and he said, "Look, we got to stop this. If we stop this, we'll get the power back." You know? If you keep doing it, she ain't going to marry me, and then we're going to be stuck where we are now.
Yeah, I think that's
that
a reasonable
would work.
Option. Yeah.
But if I was betting money, I would say he could snap his fingers and change it because he was partly in control of it.
We'll be right back.
This episode is sponsored by Audible. To get a free audiobook, or 2 if you're an Amazon Prime member, go to our exclusive URL, audibletrial.com/ghostsharrenhal. You can find the link in our show notes. Right. I think both are reasonable options, but it certainly Skahaz certainly has the right to question how this is happening. And maybe he says, let me put Hizdahr to the question and I'll get you the info. Maybe you put him to the question, but not the way he means put him to the question. Maybe you take me through what you talk to one of these great houses about. Let me come with you on the next one. I just want to hear what you say so I can help spread the word too. I'm Marinese as well.
Yeah.
But Dany doesn't believe that that there is a single harpy because the questioned men give different answers. And I wondered if possibly that was part of their orders. If you're captured, you give this name. If you're captured, you give this name, etc. Like planned out.
What's interesting is that obviously Hizdahr's name it never came up.
Oh.
Because if Hizdahr's name came up, Skahaz would have been, he would have Skahazed into the throne room to announce it, I'm imagining a sort of cartoon version of Skahaz, sort of like sliding on
devil.
his slippers into the...
like Tom Cruise.
Yeah, exactly.
A risky business. For those who don't know why I just said Tom Cruise, he did that in an old movie called Risky Business.
Mm-hmm.
But there's one line where Dany thinks to herself that she sent Daario away. She's thinking this to Skahaz, that she sent Daario away for the sake of you and yours. And I think what she's referring to is in that last conversation she had with Daario before she sent him away, that he suggested, I know what we'll do. Let's throw a wedding with you and Hizdahr. We'll get all the great masters and their families in one wedding feast together, and then we'll kill them all.
Yeah.
I think that's what she's referring to there.
Yeah. But interestingly then, there's a sort of like a reconverging of those two threads, because it seems like she's bringing forward the wedding, but she is also recalling Daario.
Oh, yeah. Right.
So, not saying she's changed her mind, but if Daario were to take matters into his own hands...
Right. Yeah.
Daenerys must be aware that there is a possibility, even if she doesn't believe it, that there is a possibility that Hizdahr is a ringleader of the Sons of the Harpy.
Yeah. If not the Harpy, someone within the organization who has a lot of influence. Because
her assumption actually makes a lot of sense, that it isn't a single person. Yeah. All of these families want this to change, and so it's no great surprise. It would be no great surprise if many of them were convening to sort of hatch this plan. But look, so she must have this suspicion, but she's still going to go ahead and marry him. That is a dangerous premise for a marriage. I am marrying you to bring peace to the realm because you've been murdering people, and by marrying you, you're going to stop it. It's like, doesn't feel like long term that's going to be a good marriage. Even if that's not the right case, she must on some level think that that's a possibility.
Yeah, and you start to wonder if she's being totally played here, if her decency and desperation is being used against her.
Well,
because I mean,
she's making a deal,
and
she's making a deal she doesn't like because she's in a desperate situation. Yeah.
Right, and she doesn't want to look too closely to see why the peace has continued, because she just so badly needs the peace to continue.
Yeah,
like she doesn't want to know how the sausage is made here.
Yeah. I thought it was an interesting moment. We kind of skipped over it slightly in the summary, but Barristan compares her favorably to Rhaegar.
Yeah.
I think it's at the point where she... When is it?
It's when Skahaz gives Dany a list of ship captains that are Myronese that are out blocking the bay. And he says, every one of those captains have family here in this city.
Right.
Gather them all up, and I bet you can get those ships to stop blocking the bay.
Yeah, and Dany says...
She says she's not going to do that. She's not going to send brazen beasts into the pyramids. That would start a war within her own city, and she burns the list instead. And that's when Barristan says, your brother would be proud of you.
Yeah.
Rhaegar, of course, not Viserys.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
His pride. Yeah. But whenever she hears Rhaegar's name, she thinks about what Jorah said of Rhaegar, which is that Jorah said, and I believe the quote is, that Rhaegar fought valiantly, Rhaegar fought nobly, Rhaegar fought honorably, and Rhaegar died. Yep. And it does kind of feel like Dany's story hinges on that, that is she willing to lose and keep this nobility that Rhaegar had? Or will she be willing to compromise that honor in favor of victory?
Yep.
And as I thought about that, I thought it would be kind of George Martin it would be exactly not George Martin to hand the final victory to someone who stays true to their honor. Because basically everyone who stays true to their honor in this book gets it almost immediately. But that might be the ultimate switcheroo, sort of like, in all of this compromised morals, the one person who stays virtuous throughout wins the Iron Throne. But I don't really believe that. I really believe that her arc has to be that tension between trying to be the next Rhaegar and trying to succeed. And the only way to succeed is to compromise the things that made Rhaegar so...
The purity and the...
Exactly. All of that has to be set aside in order to get to the victory she needs.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. I'm speaking off the top of my head here, so I hope my details aren't wrong. But I believe that George Martin has talked about how he differs from Tolkien in that he believes that just because you're a good person doesn't make you a good ruler. And, the person with the morals and the honor and all that doesn't always necessarily come out on top and be the shining king or queen that you would think they would be because they're overall good people.
Yeah.
I'd have to research that, make sure I got my facts right. But I think
it's a good point, and it made me think. I started thinking about it. Sorry, so, that doesn't make for good podcast, but we can edit out the 4-minute silence.
We can. We've done it before, and we'll do it again.
Yeah, but it's interesting because I would have thought that. Maybe you misquoted, but I would have thought the quote that begins with, because I'm not like Tolkien, because I don't think that good always wins, is what I thought he was going to say.
Oh, yeah. Unfortunately, I don't know off the top of my head exactly what the quote was, but I'm just recalling that there was some sort of
I think
discussion.
Both of these charges can be leveled at George Martin, but if I was George Martin, I think that's how I would think. Because, ultimately, that's what Tolkien did. He took the good guys through the impossible, and they came out victorious.
Right.
Here, the good guys enter the impossible, then get beheaded. And...
right. Then get beheaded. In the 10th, in the what, the 3/4 of the way through the first book.
And then get replaced by other characters who maybe one day will get revenge for them. But yeah. Because of that, there's no guarantees here, And your point is very valid. Even if they did, even if the best of the best here win, there's no guarantee they would be the great ruler.
Right. Brienne,
look at Maegor.
Brienne is one of the best.
He had everything,
He was a perfect 10. Terrible king.
Well, I mean, history has recorded him as a terrible king. I mean, again,
Right.
the jury
totally
is out.
Misunderstood.
So the Green Grace, the Blue Graces and Grey Worm bring the news of the dying man on the dying horse. Of course, this fits with Quaith's prophecies, right?
Yeah. She came to Dany on her terrace in some form that we don't quite understand. It seems like maybe she was using one of those glass candles to reproduce herself somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And she gave Dany this kind of list of prophecies of things to look out for. And she said, the glass candles are burning. Soon comes the pale mare, and after her the others, the kraken and dark flame, lion and griffin, the sun's son, and the mummer's dragon. Trust none of them. Remember the undying. Beware of the perfumed seneschal.
Mm-hmm.
So if we just take those one by one at this point, do a little check-in with the prophecy, well, we can assume the Kraken is Victarion Greyjoy, and we do know he is headed her way.
Yeah.
His assignment is to woo her and bring her back for his brother Euron, but he has plans of marrying her himself.
Right.
So we don't know a dark flame yet. We have not met a character yet that really fits that description very well.
You know what? It is strange because you're so good at the spoiler section that I actually have a feeling I do know who Dark Flame is. It's so weird. Normally I'm like nodding along like, yep, I haven't a clue, but I do now.
You just might, yes.
Mm-hmm.
It may or may not have come up in a spoiler section.
I believe it has. The Lion and the Griffin. The Lion and the Griffin is slightly interesting, only because, to me, that suggests Tyrion and Griff, John Connington.
Right. Yeah.
But also young Griff, of course, it could have meant. But young Griff comes up later in the prophecy, so...
Right. But the Griffin is not headed to...
And that's what I was going to say. Yeah. Which is why, written as is, I would assume it meant John Connington. But now I don't believe he's coming this way. And so I'm like, well, is that young Griff we're talking about?
He's not supposed to be coming this way either.
Oh, but he's not coming this way either. That's very true.
Right. Yeah. So that is, that one kind of hurts her reputation a little bit. I guess maybe she can't get them all right. She's still probably batting a lot better than Melisandre is at times. Yeah. But then, the son's son is Quentin Martell, surely, right? Because the son
because
is
of the spelling of son. It's the
S-U-N.
The male child of the star in the sky.
Yes, exactly. And that is the sigil of the Martells. Yes. And the Mummer's Dragon, like you just mentioned a minute ago, sure seems like she's talking about young Griff being a fake Aegon.
Right, exactly. That's what that feels like the implication of the Mummer's Dragon.
Yes.
But yeah.
And then beware of the perfumed seneschal. This one has been on Dany's mind a lot lately because of Resnack Mo Resnack, who is a perfumed seneschal.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him. He might want to... But again, as whenever this comes up, I always point out that Varys is also a perfumed seneschal as well.
Right. And you might even make the argument that Illyrio Mopatis could be a perfumed seneschal.
Yeah, possibly.
As a magister, Yeah. So, but Resnack he urges her, I guess I should say, please marry Hizdahr. He can fix all our problems. And I wondered, is that a reason to consider not marrying Hizdahr? Because Resnack is urging her, and she's got this warning, beware the perfumed seneschal.
Yeah.
Especially when she gets the Pale Mare one correct.
Right. So one thing I just want to mention is the Pale Mare now obviously has a connection to the real world because this rider has come in with the bloody flux, riding on a pale mare,
Right.
harbinger of doom and deliverer of said doom as well. It reminded me of Melisandre's vision of Arya riding on a pale horse, I think.
A dying horse. Yeah.
A dying horse, yeah. And I wondered if Melisandre had got it wrong, had misread the flames, that actually she was seeing Dany or seeing a Dany-related thing in the flames, and she didn't realize it.
Yeah, of course, in Melisandre's version, it's a girl on a horse. Here was a man on a horse, but you're seeing in flames, maybe what looked like long hair was actually just a part of the actual flame.
Yeah. But I mean, I kind of, when I pictured Dany, I kind of picture her riding on her silver, you know?
Oh, I see. So you're not saying that Melisandre saw this vision, saw the man on the pale mare that Quaithe prophesized.
Maybe. I'm just not sure she saw what she thought she saw. That's all. There's enough pale dying going on here. Girls pale dying. That horses. It could be more than one thing, you know.
Yes.
I hope.
I get it.
I hope it's Jane Poole riding to, freedom.
Right. Yeah.
That would be nice. Better yet, I hope it's Arya riding to Jon. That would be amazing.
Somehow. Yeah, we haven't caught up with her in a bit. Maybe she's somehow made it to Castle Black. Yeah. Well, speaking of Melisandre and Quaithe, they have a little bit more in common than dying horse prophecies. They're both considered shadowbinders. Quaithe wears the signature mask that or most shadowbinders wear. Melisandre doesn't. But Melisandre is a dual role. She is a shadowbinder plus a priestess of R'hllor. And those two things are not the same. Quaithe is not a priestess of R'hllor, to my knowledge. She is simply a shadowbinder. Melisandre is both. And the difference basically is that the shadowbinder uses magic to bind shadows to their will. Think of Melisandre's shadow assassins that killed Renly Baratheon and Courtney Penrose. The priests and priestesses of R'hllor, they worship their god, they see visions in the flames, they give the last kiss, they light night fires, etc. Much more religious type things than what shadowbinders do.
So the Green Grace thinks that the dying man is a harbinger of bad tidings. Again, not really that impressed by her ability to foretell the future. She knows the basic evolution of an outbreak of disease like dysentery in a city. She's probably right that he's going to be a harbinger of bad news.
He was allowed into the city, and he was treated by the Blue Graces.
But I think that's because they misread his injuries when he arrived. When he arrived, they thought he had been shot in the leg. They thought he was sweating and bleeding from that. It was only when he came down off the horse they realized that he soiled himself multiple times. There was blood in the stool, the hallmarks of dysentery. And so once that, they carefully washed him, and that dysentery then rolled into their water supply. And now will spread like wildfire, presumably.
It could. Yeah, very much so. And to follow that up, Quaithe gave a warning about the pale mare for some reason. Not just, hey, here's an interesting thing that might happen. A man might come to town on a pale mare.
With a bad leg.
There was a reason why. And I think it's, don't let that rider in. It could cause disease to spread within the city, so that's something we'll have to hope against and keep an eye on. I'm sure if it does spread, we'll hear about it.
So Brown Ben Plum brings back some refugees from Astapor who recount the horrors of what went on there. It keeps sounding worse and worse.
Absolutely.
Most relevant to Dany is the sort of like divide between the three. Of the three, two of them are sort of so grateful to Dany still for rescuing her, but the Weaver shoots her daggers the whole time. He blames her for what's befallen them, for sure.
Yeah, she lays that guilt thick, too. Multiple times she says, we thought you were coming to save us. We hoped and prayed every day. Just keeps reiterating this. And I'm sure it was really hard for Dany to hear.
Yeah. On some levels, the guilt is so thick that I wondered if the Weaver might be a spy sent to erode her confidence. But at the same time, I'm sure that many will think that way.
Oh, right.
Anyone who listened to Cleon's envoy would have some sympathy for Dany not doing what he said.
Right. Yes.
Or indeed listen to Cleon.
Yeah, we were there with Quentin and saw, we heard, well, that was the chapter you and Jenny did, but we saw how bad it was, just his description of the situation. Well, these survivors paint an even more tragic story from their side, from the inside of the walls. And they mentioned that King Cutthroat and Queen Whore accused each other of feasting on the slain. And just a quick refresher of, because there's been so many rulers and kings in Astapor in the past, just in this book alone. So King Cutthroat was a barber who killed King Cleon II, whose reign lasted a whole 8 days, because Cleon I was killed by his own men when he commanded that they march out and attack the Yonkai. He took up the mantle of King of Astapor, and then King Cutthroat killed him 8 days after he put the crown on his head, I guess. Now, Queen Whore, she was Cleon II's concubine, who claimed the throne the same time that King Cutthroat did. So after King Cleon II died, both of them claimed that they were now the rulers of Astapor.
Yep.
And there was another bit of kind of a throwback in this chapter, or in this discussion here about Astapor. One of the 3 survivors mentions that the pyramid of House Naklaz burned because some blamed Krasniz for the woes of the city. And if that name sounds the slightest bit familiar, it's because...
Then you're one up on me.
Well, Krasnizmo Nakloz was the good master that Dany made the deal with for the Unsullied for Drogon, and then pulled the switcheroo. So that's why some probably blame Krasniz for this whole the situation beginning, because he's the one. He died, but his family is paying the price because Krasniz is the one that let her get one over on him like this.
So Dany is regretful that she didn't go and help Astapor, but her small council very prudently tells her, no, not your fault. No.
Right.
They know how to operate. They know to manage the manager. Yeah. But Dany thinks about Iroha, who she saved. She was a Lazarene girl. She saved from being raped in the village when Drogo took it. At the same time, she met Miri Mazdur, right? That's the same scene. Yeah. And why does she think she's created 10,000 Irohas? Because what happened to Iroha? It feels like I remember her being saved, but I don't remember what befell.
Yeah, so after Drogo's downfall, Iroha was then raped by multiple men and then killed, and Dany has sworn to get revenge on the men who did it. And is this not the first time she's thought of Iroha when also thinking of Astapor? Before trading Drogon for the Unsullied, she thought of Iroha and then when the Cleon the Great was training, in quotation marks, the new Unsullied, when he basically just took the sons of the good masters and castrated them and then dressed them like Unsullied, again, she thought, I've created Irohas. And here she's thinking, I created 10,000 Irohas. And I think what she ultimately means is she tried to rescue these slaves and save the city from this awful deeds and history. And instead, she arguably made life worse for everyone involved, including those slaves.
Crown is going to weigh heavy, even if you try to be good.
Yeah.
When Ben Plum discovers that the dragons aren't an option, you and Danny sensed a change in him. Do you think this might be something she's going to get from all her commanders when they all realize what, because like you say, it must be becoming increasingly apparent that she's either unable or unwilling to utilize the dragons.
Right.
And in either event, like you say, suddenly she's just a 15-year-old girl. She's no longer anything.
Yeah. To answer your question, it will depend on how much those other commanders, how they feel about the dragons in their ultimate plan in their head for success. We know that Brown Ben was very fond of the dragons and clearly thought that they were going to be the ace up the sleeve in this fight, because he kept saying, but we've got the dragons. And when she said the dragons aren't happening, that's not a thing, she thought to herself, she could see by the look on his face that she knew that wasn't the answer he wanted to hear.
Yeah.
And now you got to start to wonder, what is he thinking about chances of success here? And he pretty much says it by his suggestion of what we should do now.
Yeah. So the one thing I'll say, and I've been thinking about this, Brown Ben she doesn't have anyone to teach her how to teach her dragons. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
yeah.
Brown Ben is one person who has complete confidence over his ability to deal with those dragons. And so I wonder if part of it is that, if part of what he's thinking is, okay, I need to help this girl with these dragons. Not just,
maybe. Yeah.
I have to reassess whether or not my life is worth sticking around here because we're all going to get slaughtered. But whether or not, final throw of the dice, let me see if I can't teach her how to handle these dragons.
Maybe that's what he was thinking. It's not what he said, but it could be what he's thinking. He says, let's take payment to leave Meereen and head west now.
That's a lot simpler than walking into the tied up dragon's den.
The way what he verbalizes is a quick loss of confidence in this cause. And that would worry me if I were Danny. And I had 2 sellsword companies, and 50% of the commanders of my sellsword companies are saying, we don't have the dragons, let's cut and run. This is over.
Yeah.
So, and then he says, okay, I'm going to go back out. She sends him back out to scout for her. She wants to know how many are in the armies that are coming north and where they are and all those kind of scouting details. And he says, yeah, I'll do that. Also, give me a large amount of treasure, because I'm going to try and pay these other sellsword companies to change to our side. And Danny quickly agrees to this. I feel like it's a bit risky.
Yes.
What prevents the company from taking the gold and then not changing sides? There's no binding contract there.
All right, boys. I know I promised you wagons full, but I got what I could. Let's go.
Or they might take the gold, pretend to come to her side, and then change back.
Yeah.
When it counts, it's just it doesn't
definitely
feel like
worrying.
A great idea.
Okay, I like my idea. I think he's going to be her dragon trainer. I'm sticking with it.
Well, how about Reznak blurting out the secret about the dragons, which is rather dangerous, that they're chained up in the dungeons and that nobody has any control over them? I don't think that was meant for being voiced in any kind of group setting.
The thing is, though, I wonder if anyone's ever said to him that sellswords change sides all the time. Yeah, wait a minute. They say it all the time. Constantly.
They do. I think we've heard it a time or two, yes.
Yeah. So, yes, saying that in front of a sellsword captain is a bad plan. It's a very bad plan.
I mean, it's not like I said at the beginning of our discussion, it's her lack of control over the dragons is not good if it reaches the enemy's ears, because at the moment they have to respect and fear and plan for the dragons. But it's also not good for her allies to hear, because they might think, well, this is a lost cause. Let's in
many ways, it's worse for the allies because
let's get out of here.
Yeah. So the decision is made to keep the Estapori refugees outside the city to prevent the spread of the bloody flux. It's it's the right decision. It's harsh. It's
Yeah, it
cruel.
is.
It's coupled with the decision to try to keep the sick separate from the uh, healthy.
Reasonable.
If
Yeah.
they knew anything about this disease, they would make sure that the sick were further downriver than the healthy. That would help. But
Yeah. I did notice she said to put the camp on the west side of the city.
yeah,
So, that might help because the river flows east to west.
yeah.
So that might help
Uh,
some.
it's definitely harsh, but it's also the right decision. You bring them into the city, then everyone dies.
Right. Yeah.
Without clean water, the death rate from dysentery is very, very high. With clean water, it's almost zero.
Good distinction there. Very noteworthy.
Um, so Barristan thinks that battle is her best bet, which is interesting because it feels like he's got really nothing to back that up, apart from his own prowess, basically.
She calls him out on that.
Yeah.
She says, he's saying her freedmen are unbloodied. They've never been in battle, and they're outnumbered. And she's like, well, what do you suggest? And he says, battle. Let me go fight them in a situation that I can control. And she's like, fight them with the unbloodied, half-trained, outnumbered freedmen that you were just talking about, huh?
Yeah. I mean, he's right. Everyone's unblooded until they're bloodied, but
right.
There is no way to know how useful these guys are going to be. I trust Grey Worm's training, but the Unsullied are different. They are different. They are wired differently.
Yes.
And the kind of training he would be giving would be that which is appropriate for Unsullied. And the freedmen are not Unsullied, and they're going to have other. I don't know. I'm with Danny. I'm not confident at all that they're going to be any use.
Agreed. So that's when she decides she thinks I can't march out. I can't let Barristan try the battle plan, because if I do, I'm going to give up the city. I can't have the city behind me not knowing whether it's secure or not.
But then, do you think then the logical consequence of what you just said is that she marries him and then gives Barristan the green light? Is that the idea?
I think it's possible. I think she marries Hizdahr. Her plan in her head, as she says it here, I need Hizdahr. I marry Hizdahr. Maybe if he can work peace with the Sons of the Harpy, maybe he can work peace with the Yunkai as well. If that doesn't work, at least I've secured the city so that Barristan can pursue the battle option.
Yeah, true. All right, excellent. I think it's time for some spoilers. Join us at the upper levels of the Buy Me a Coffee Sustainer tiers, and you can get in on the spoilers. Get them quick before they run out. All right, good spoilers. How about some background?
All right, well, the rider on the Pale Mare is believed to have been infected with the bloody flux. By the way, I had to search high and low to come up with anything to do background on. It was like the last thing I did this week. It was about 2 hours before we started recording.
You've always got brown plums. If a plum turns brown, what does that mean?
Right. I needed to think a little more outside the box. Well, hopefully they've contained the bloody flux now that this man has died and they have realized that he was likely infected. Regardless, it's scary stuff because there isn't much in the way of cures for it that they know about anyway. However, although everyone in the city should be worried, Dany might have less reason for personal concern. Because in Westeros, the reason the Targaryens were allowed to do things like marry within the family is due to the doctrine of exceptionalism. And the basic gist of that doctrine is that the Targaryens are not like normal humans. We've done backgrounds on it before, I think years ago, but that's the basic gist. Targaryens are not like your run-of-the-mill humans. They're the only people in the world who can ride dragons Therefore, they shouldn't be held to the same rules as regular people. Another key to the Targaryen exceptionalism is that they are immune to most common illnesses that might kill the average person, such as, say, the bloody flux.
Or house fires.
Or that one did get a few. Yes, that one sadly.
Well, that's true.
Sadly,
didn't get Danny though.
Yes. Now, I don't know how tested that theory is, so I'd recommend that Danny still tread cautiously if I were her.
Yes, I would too, as her doctor. Yeah. Interesting that there still isn't really a cure for it.
Oh.
Not really. I mean,
So,
they sometimes sort of give antibiotics or whatever, but basically it's just clean water. If you could just get fresh, clean water, it'll clear up by itself. But if you keep drinking dysentery water, then it's just going to redouble itself, and that's the problem. You get dehydrated, you drink more water, it's got more dysentery, and it keeps and
oh gosh,
and you die.
Right, round and round.
Yeah. So
tragic.
Clean water. It's the solution. Which is why it's still quite common today, but it is much less fatal because we know all you have to do is stop people drinking poison water.
Okay.
Comparison with the television show, Daenerys comes to a lot of decisions by herself in the show. She herself proposes to Hizdahr without any promise of peace, just an assumption that marrying a noble might bring peace. Okay. When the murders cease, it's Daario who tells Daenerys that this shows that Hizdahr is in league with, or is in fact, the son of the Harpy. The bloody flux story is dropped entirely, I believe.
Okay.
Pedantry, I didn't see anything in this one. Poor Groleo.
Yeah, poor Groleo. That's pedantry. Groleo, he should be more respected.
Yeah. News and notes. We're going to have a live video chat with our sustainers on August 26th, which will be just the day after this episode drops, at 6:45 Eastern Time. The weird time is so that Simon can have a game of soccer that evening. So I appreciate you all joining us 15 minutes earlier. That's very kind of you.
When I sent out the invite, I mentioned in there, please note the 6:45 start time. Simon has a soccer conflict that we have to adhere to. So
I'm still pushing it, just so you know. I'll have to just, I may have to do the call in soccer gear. Just
that's fine. We can live with that. As long as we can't smell it, we'll be fine.
Yes.
And we just want to give a huge thank you to Bobby H. for buying us 20 cups of Arbor Gold from our Buy Me a Coffee page. Thank you, Bobby. That is so kind and generous of you.
That is almost more than I can drink, Bobby. Thank you ever so much.
Right. Simon will do most of the Arbor Gold drinking. And just a reminder, that's an alternate way to help out the show. There's two options. You could be a monthly sustainer, whom we love and cherish, and get the perks that come with that membership. Or if you like what we're doing and you want to show your appreciation, you can buy us a cup of Arbor Gold, or 20 like Bobby.
Yeah. Thanks ever so much, Bobby. That's really awesome. We're very grateful.
It really is. Thank you.
Let's draw a line under this one. Lots of words, but not much evolution. Danny is still in a bind. Enemies within, enemies without, and now disease about to run rampant.
Unfortunately, Sir Barristan, he does hit her with some good news, but it's not. It's the old saying, peeing on a wildfire. It's kind of like that. The good news isn't good enough to make her forget about the bad news.
Yeah. She's got an ocean of hunger, and he's got a few morsels to feed her.
Right.
They ain't gonna change anything.
Hey, we've made friends with the Lazarene. Great. The peaceful lamb men. They're really gonna help us out here.
Some more people I have to protect from slavery. Great.
Right.
Her insistence on not using the dragons has got to give eventually. That's the only way I can see out of this. That she. Yeah. I mean, she hasn't even been to see them in like 3 chapters. She's got to go down there and face the music. She brought these things into existence, and only she can change their behavior. And she's got to be brave about it. She's not doing anything useful listening to people's complaints.
And I know it's dangerous for them to be out in the wild, but they're as useless to her out in the wild as they are chained up in the dungeon. And maybe that's what they need. Maybe they need to go out, live on their own for a time before they come back. I don't know. Maybe it's worth a try. I know some people will be affected very negatively, likely lose their lives because these dragons will feed on humans when
they're dragons.
But I don't know. Maybe that I don't know that keeping them chained up in the dungeon. What's the end game there? I don't think there's
nothing good coming from that. Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I still have little fingers crossed that Brown Ben Plum might be the salvation here. He's got an affinity for those dragons and is not afraid of them. And maybe he can teach Dany that because I think that's 80% of Dany's problem is that she's now become afraid of the dragons herself. She doesn't want to interact with the dragons because she's so afraid. Ben can teach her to not be afraid. Then she can start to think about teaching them other things like sheep okay, children not so good.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, well, Tyrion was writing down a whole book of information that he knew about.
And he's on his way.
Dragons. He theoretically is on his way. Who knows how long it'll take him to get here, but he's making his way.
Hizdahr is either an influencer over the whole city or he is the Harpy himself.
Right.
Either way, she is probably better off marrying him because either way, that tends to bring that to an end. But
yes,
you've brought a viper to your chest if he is the Harpy because now what do the Sons of the Harpy want? They want a return to slavery. They want a return to the fighting pits. Two things that Dany does not want.
Right. Yeah, and where does that road lead? That probably nowhere good for Dany. That's for sure. Especially without the protection of her dragons. Yeah. And Astapor has fallen, so the Yunkai can now turn their entire attention on Meereen, which just continues to stack the odds against Dany. So, for the right reasons or wrong, Hizdahr might be her best chance for success, at least in the short term.
Well, up next, we have the character formerly known as Melanie.
Oh, right. A little teaser.
If you don't know who we're talking about, you'll have to listen up to find out. All right, there's three ways you can help us. You can leave us a 5-star rating and possibly a review. You could buy us a cup of Arbor Gold or 20, as Bobby H did, at buymeacoffee.com/ghostharrenhall. There, you can join us at any of the various sustainer levels. There's a tier to match your budget and interest. Or you can make a donation directly to our cause at our website, ghostsofharrenhall.buzzsprout.com.
And if you're looking for more ways to interact with us, well, one thing you can do is you can send us a text. The link is at the top of every episode show notes. Please just keep in mind we have no means of responding, but we do enjoy reading them. If you're interested in keeping up on the latest Ghosts of Harrenhal news and developments, well, I suggest you check us out on our social media. You can follow us on Twitter at Ghost Harrenhal, or on Facebook, Instagram, Discord, and YouTube.
Thank you for listening.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.